Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Zone Star State Podcast. I'm Matthew Brune, and joining me once again is Ishmael Johnson. And today, Ish, we have a lot to talk about. This is our most loaded pod of the early portion of the season, I'd say, because teams are playing each other, and we have actual results now, and we have teams that we got to talk about. We got to talk about now.
Yeah.
So, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I didn't realize, honestly, on the camera, I didn't realize how much I look like a preacher today. Apparently, I look like this. Like I have the zipper all the way up, and it looks like the thing like Catholic priests have in their collar.
Turtleneck type thing
Yeah.
coming around here.
I looked on camera. I was like, why do I look like a priest right now?
They're coming to get the word.
The word on Texas on TCU women's basketball. We're up, baby.
Yes. So, a lot to talk about. Yeah, like you said, TCU women's basketball. A couple women's basketball results that are interesting. A&M men's get a big win. We'll talk a little bit Houston on the recruiting trail, actually, which is really interesting. But first, TCU women's basketball has made their claim to being one of the better teams in the country, I'd say.
I mean, they have the best win of any team in the state so far, I'd say.
Yeah, and honestly, South Carolina didn't look this good beating NC State. Well, I mean, they were up, but regardless, you get my point. TCU is now pushing into where they were unranked, and now they are what, 19th in the country on this Monday after a 76-73 win over NC State, where NC State storms back. And to be fair, NC State, letting NC State back in that game to where NC State honestly had the ball with a chance to take a lead was concerning. But I kind of put that in the back of my mind because the 90% of the game was TCU, I thought, in complete control and playing very, very well. So where do you start when talking about this TCU win?
Yeah, I mean, you could, geez. One, Maddie Scher's not even playing yet.
Yep.
Two, I think he's gotten the balance down perfectly so far as like the rotation goes. But I think the biggest one to me, we can get more into like the rotations and all that, but I think for the biggest one for me is that she was great last season for this team. But now it feels like Sedona Prince is like one of the best players in the country right now. And even when she committed there last year, that was not on my radar. That was just not on my radar. We'd seen the untapped potential. She'd obviously battled injury a ton in her career. She had she had a dispute with Texas about how they handled one of her initial injuries as a freshman. That's it. She ended up at Oregon. But even when she was playing at Oregon, I think it was with her and Niara Sabali, she wasn't doing this. Like, what did she finish with yesterday?
31 and 16.
31 and 16 with 3 assists and 2 blocks. Like, dude, she is a force right now. Like, she's playing like a top 5 WNBA pick. Like, again, we saw a little bit of this last year, but like, I think it was a lot of last year was like, we didn't really know how good that team was. Cause of course, every good team they played, even when they were healthy, like Baylor beat them pretty good. And so it was like, okay, how good is this team? To do this against North Carolina, NC State, like, dude, she was the best player on the floor. And her and Haley Van Lith were the best players on the floor. And I think we expected Van Lith to take a big step. But I guess I underestimated how big of a step that Sedona Prince would take again after last year.
Yeah, Sedona Prince is perfect in this system of Mark Campbell where she can post up, but she doesn't have to post up.
Yeah.
Like, she catches the ball on a roll. She catches the ball in like areas where she can face up and shoot. Like, she catches the ball just in really comfortable positions. And it makes her just incredibly hard to stop because you do still have the spacing of all these other players around her.
Yeah.
And she just wins the one-on-one matchups. Like, this is a 7th-year player at this point, and she looks like she's just better than everybody. She looks like she's more mature. She looks like she knows what she's doing. Even when she picks up fouls, like, I trust her to not like foul out of games or like pick up dumb fouls consistently. I mean, 3 assists, no turnovers. That's like super underrated, but 31 points, 16 rebounds, and 0 turnovers with 2 blocks. I mean, and plays all 40 minutes.
Yeah.
That is I mean, like you said, she looks like a pro at this point. in here, and she is the age of like a pro, but
Yeah.
that's what you get with TCU, knowing that she's in her as an experienced player. So yeah, she's the headliner. She is the headliner. She's the player of the week in the state, all that stuff, whatever accolades you want to give her.
Yeah. And I
Now,
think,
go
I was
ahead.
going to say the last thing on this before we can get on to, the other player in this conversation, but like this gives me so much more optimism for them in the Big 12 because like it was always a question of like, the Audie Crooks, of Iowa State and like the
Ayoka
Ayoka Lee's of Kansas State. And obviously defensively, we knew her value, but like the fact that they're able just to dump the ball into the post to her and
Yep.
she's able to find, like you mentioned, pass out of these double teams, like that just makes honestly, it just makes them even more unstoppable. And it makes me interested to see how Baylor handles her now, right? Because like, of course, we like Von Lay, but she's kind of had a slow start to the season. And if Sedona Prince has taken this big of a leap already, like, I mean, I don't know. We're looking at potential like conference play of the year.
Yes, that's a great point. That's a great point. I hadn't thought about that. She might be like the conference player of the year. Well, let's go to the guards.
Yeah.
Van Lith. I mean, first of all, Van Lith, Connor, and Donovan Hunter all played 36 plus minutes here. This is a team that I think I do think they have depth, but I think he's going to pick his spots with it. At the end of the day, in these games against top tier competition, I think he's in such a rhythm right now. We'll see what happens when Maddie Sherrick comes back. That'll clearly distribute the minutes more, but I mean, they haven't even needed like Una Jovanovic or like Agnes Eminopu 12 minutes. Like they haven't needed them at all. They just keep playing, and it's so fluid every time down the court. They know exactly what they're doing. Haley Van Lith, 18 points, 10 assists. Her career high, 10 assists. Still not efficient shooting there. I want her to be more efficient. But in the big picture of things, I think she was just in really, really good control of the offense. And she's so comfortable out of ball screens with Prince that that's Van Lith, Connor, and Hunter as like a three-headed monster. And Taylor Bigby, who we did not have on, like, I didn't have on my radar
At all.
And she comes out 4 of 5 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3 with 6 boards. Yeah, she's like breakout candidate of the year. Taylor Bigby, redshirt junior from USC.
Yep, averaging 11 points right now. 11 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, or just under 2 assists on 58% shooting right now. So,
geez, I mean, again, they could be deep. Like if Campbell wants to go 8 deep, I think he could, especially with Sherbeck, he can go 8, 9 deep comfortably.
Yeah.
But I think this was such a statement game that he wanted to win. It's like, no, we're just gonna play the players that are getting us looks every time down. And I felt like the way that they controlled an NC State team that I obviously is very, very good. It was really surprising. It was really, really impressive.
That was, like I said, that's the biggest win of the season so far, I think, for any team in the state. And I think it was the biggest like statement win because we were wondering about TCU's ceiling. Like we were curious about like, okay, how did all these players fit together? We think they could be good based on what we saw last year, but this was like, okay, no, this team's good. This team's just flat out good.
Yeah. And they're not even. I think just watching the game, it's like they're not even shooting as many threes as I think we thought. Only 5 of 19 from 3, and only 5 of 8 from the free throw line. So it's that they're able to get. I mean, 42 points in the paint. They shoot a good amount of mid range jumpers, but they feel pretty efficient with Van Lith and Prince shooting them and Connor shooting them. So, 4 turnovers for the game. I just saw. Yeah, 4 turnovers. That's how you know an offense is comfortable right there. 4 turnovers. That is absurd. 22 assists to 4 turnovers. That's got to be one of the best assist to turnover ratios between top 25 teams in a long time. That's crazy. But yeah, shout out to TCU. They have completely moved up. We thought they were a top 25 team coming into the year. Somehow they weren't ranked, and like I had Talia Goodman on here over the offseason. We raved about them. And now Talia Goodman has them like number 12 in her rankings. I think top 15 is very fair for this team because, like you said, that's a win that not a lot of teams have at this point. So.
Yep.
All right. I watched Rice women's basketball and Sam Houston State. But first, we didn't even talk about it. We joked about it last podcast. Rice versus Houston, and it went exactly how we expected it to go. Ish.
Yeah.
It went exactly how we expected it to go.
Yeah, and that's kind of sad because I was hoping it would not go exactly how we were.
It is beyond sad because I didn't watch the Houston game, but I watched the Sam Houston State game.
Yeah.
And Sam Houston State fought with Rice.
Mm-hmm.
And in the back of my head, I'm like, Houston couldn't even do this. Houston, where does Houston women's basketball rank in Houston right now? Because they're below Rice.
I mean, they're lucky that Houston Christian's there.
Texas Southern's there. Okay, like they're better than the SWAC schools.
Yeah.
But good grief. I'm like, if Sam Houston is being more competitive with Rice than Houston is, that's scary. That's not good. Like,
so for those that don't know, it was Rice 60, Houston 48, and then Rice beat Sam 65-60.
And in neither one of these games, Rice had Malia Fisher. Malia Fisher did not play in either one of these games.
Right.
So first of all, good for Rice. But go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, my biggest issue for this one was, and again, an emphasis on we expect Rice to be, or an asterisk next to, we expect Rice to be a contender in the AAC, right? This is not a bad team, right?
No.
So, like, obviously we're not saying like, oh, they lost to Rice, but like the way they got beat in particular, why was, I'm gonna mess up her name, Susie, oh God.
Oh, Susie, I just say Susie.
Unglefak?
Yeah,
Unglefak. Why was she the biggest player on the floor? Like, she was the most physical, imposing player on the floor. Why? For the entire game. Like, Houston, it looked like Rice was the Big 12 team and Houston was the AAC team because there were just so many open looks for her where they were trying to like front her and do all these different things. And she didn't have an incredible, she finished with 12 points, 6 of 7, from the field. And every time she touched the ball, it was point blank rim. Just like, it was one of those, like, give me the ball. Don't have to put the ball on the ground. Just boom, boom. Just like right up with it. And they could not do anything. And I'm watching and I'm like, how does that happen? How does Rice get a player like this that you, again, maybe end up being their third, fourth best player? You know, it's not going to be like, she's not going to lead them in scoring. But like, I was blown away watching how she kept getting her shot off. And I'm like, what happened here? This is supposed to be a bigger team. This is supposed to be a team that's more now suitable for the Big 12, and they're still not suitable enough to beat an AAC team without their best player.
Yeah, at all. Let's flip it to Rice.
Yep.
Because Rice, and at least Sam Houston State. I watched almost all of this Rice Sam Houston game, and Rice jumps out 23-8 in the first quarter. Sam Houston State fights right back in the second to bring it within like 7 or 8. And then from there, fight back again. It was a 3-point game late in the last couple of minutes. I don't have too much from the Sam Houston State side of things. I will say I liked their aggression on defense. I thought the coaching was actually really good to be able to adjust and figure out. Rice is big. Like, Rice is big. And they don't even have Fisher out there.
I was about to say, this is a very, very big team. And like the fact that, I mean, Jazzy Owens-Barnett's a big guard. Like, she's a tall guard. And the fact that she's able to be there on the wing is like, oh my God, who? Yeah, I'm trying to look up her height real quick if I can see it. Gosh, I don't know, man. She's only 5'7". She plays a lot bigger and lengthier than 5'7". But still, like, they're a very lengthy and big team as well.
Yeah. There's they have Susie who starts, but then they bring in Shelby Hayes, who is also
Shelby Hayes is also a very she could also like I think they could.
Sorry, I lost you for a second. Okay.
No, sorry, my bad. I was gonna say they could also start Shelby Hayes. Like, they could go big with both of them. They could start either one of them. Like, I don't think many things fall off when they start if they were to like start Shelby.
Yeah, so they rotate those two, 35 minutes total between them, and that's 6'2" and 6'2" coming at you, and they're both strong. They look like big girls coming at you, and that starts things. But then I want to talk about a player who I didn't have on my radar coming into the year. And, last year, I think she averaged like 5 and 5, something like that. But she has become now my player of the week. Let's just call it my player of the week.
Okay.
Shelby Hayes.
Yep.
Or no, I'm sorry. Haley Adams. Sorry.
Haley Adams.
Haley Adams. Sorry. Haley Adams. A 6'1" redshirt sophomore out of San Antonio, Texas. Went to Clark High School. So I didn't even know she went to San Antonio before I picked this.
Yeah.
But watching Haley Adams in this game, she ends it with only 6 points, 9 rebounds, 3 blocks, 3 assists in 35 minutes, 3 from the field. And here's my highlight of the week, Ish. Let's share my screen.
Okay.
I get one every week. Here's Haley Adams coming to you live. Let's see if I can do this. Here she is, 32 on the ball. Block. Block. Run out.
She's running the floor.
Look at her. Run the court.
Reward the big. Let's go.
And go finish. 2 blocks and a finish on that play.
Yeah.
Haley Adams, my player of the week.
That's an applause right there.
We applaud that on this show.
Yeah.
She is a motor. She has an engine. And so, again, once they get Malia Fisher back, then it's like you got Adams, Fisher, then you got Susie, you got Hayes. Like, this is 4 players that are 6'1" plus that are going to give you fits. And so that's a front court that I really, really like. And they still shoot a good amount of threes. They went 7 of 19 from 3 against Sam, which is an equalizer. So, Rice women's basketball, I'm feeling very, very good.
I love that
about them.
Yeah, that's awesome. I forgot that Haley Adams went to Clark. She was a little bit of high school nerding out. She was with that Clark team that almost beat that Stack DeSoto team in the playoffs. Her and Ariana Robertson, who's at South Carolina right now, and then Aaliyah, who plays for TCU now. So those 3 were on the same team her senior year that almost beat that DeSoto team that ended up having like 9 or 10 D1 stars.
Yeah, I do remember Clark having a good team a couple years ago. I didn't know she was on it, but that is
they won state the next year when that DeSoto team left. But on her senior year, they think they only lost by like 4 or something. Yeah.
So there's Rice. Nice. We can move on now, but I want to give them a shout out. Also, Sam Houston State, good playing, good game from their side, which is progress because last year they struggled mightily. So the last women's game, which I didn't get eyes on much. I don't know if you did. North Texas and Abilene Christian.
No, I didn't get eyes on this one either. I wanted
to score it real quick.
Yeah.
Abilene Christian and Abilene Christian we've talked about before. They just lost to FSFA in a close game. North Texas ends up winning 71-60 in Abilene. A second quarter where it was 27-12 fueled North Texas. The rest of the quarter is about even. Tamisha Lampkin, 22 points, 13 rebounds, 9 of 13 shooting, with 3 blocks. I mean, she's really good. She's really good.
She's having the year that we kind of expected from her so far.
Yeah. So Lampkin leads the way, and then for Abilene Christian, Peyton Hull, 21 points. Only 1 of 10 from 3, but overall,
I'm about to say, like, I'll have to go back and watch because, like, at one point, it's only 3 games into the year, but like, she's really struggling from deep so far this season.
Yeah, so they got to get her going. Bella Earl, I saw just in the clips that I saw, had a couple of really nice takes. 17 points, 10 boards, 5 assists, 7 of 16 from the field. So we knew coming into the year, Hull and Earl were going to be the 1-2 punch.
Right.
Their last game against SFA, Meredith Mays, the big, was able to really assert herself. Not as much. Lampkin is clearly a force there. So, I mean, overall, these are 2 teams that I expect to be in the upper half, definitely the upper half of their conferences. North Texas, North Texas or Rice right now, if you had to pick one? I know we just got done praising Rice to the heavens, but
I think I'm going to go North Texas by a fraction right now.
North Texas last year was 13-5 in conference. Rice was 9-9.
Yeah, I think I'd go just because I I don't want to go Ewing theory with Rice and be like, oh, Malia Fisher's out and they're still winning. Like, I'm not going that way. I do want to see this team with Malia Fisher before I start making like, oh man, they blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with North Texas by a fraction right now, but it definitely close. It's not, I don't think either have separated themselves.
Yeah. Let me see if Rice plays. Rice plays Gonzaga on the road on Thursday. So
Hey, show me something good. Show me something good.
Very quickly. North Texas plays. Oh, first of all, they got beaten like a drum at Oregon last week.
Yeah, I do.
That was very not disheartening because I didn't expect them to win, but man, they got beaten like a drum.
Well, we can see what they can do to Houston this week too.
Oh yeah, it's their turn on the punching bag. Oh Lord, that's November 24th. So North Texas versus Houston there. All right, we can flip it on to the men's side.
Yep.
Let's start with Texas A&M. They had a statement win, I would call it, against Ohio State, 78-64. How do I word this? I don't want to take too much out of this because it was like at home, and I don't know if it was like the cleanest game in terms of like they shot 38% from the field, and I didn't feel like it was like overwhelming, but defensively, this is what we wanted A&M to be. Defensively, they just closed off all of the circuits for Ohio State, holding them to 34% from the field, 27% from three, and A&M got to the line 40 times. So they beat them up. They got to the paint. They got to the line. And this was our first chance to really see this team with Zurich Phelps.
Yeah.
And he was not super efficient, but still they definitely needed his punch, I'd say.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think that for me, I don't expect Zurich Phelps to be the most, I don't expect his efficiency to shoot up a ton.
Yeah.
But I do think that just having somebody who is a capable and willing, keyword willing, shooter and scorer next to Wade Taylor opens up so much. They didn't shoot amazingly, but they shot fine. I think this is going to be a team that just shoots like 39%, 38%, right? But they make sure that you're in that mud fight with them, and it becomes a tough shot making contest. And I think Wade Taylor and Zurich Phelps can win that kind of game. So yeah, I don't know. I think I saw enough from this team, and I saw it against a good competition, right? Because when they played UCF, that was like, okay, that's really weird. UCF may be good, so I don't want to say anything. That may end up not being a bad loss, but coming back against two opponents that they should have beaten handily, doing that, and then Ohio State. Okay, cool. Like we're gaining some momentum here. This is going to be a big 2 weeks for them because they get Oregon and Creighton back to back, which are going to be big tests. And then of course they get that neutral site game against Tech, I think it is, and then Purdue. So like they get into a real tough stretch here for the next 2-3 weeks. And so I think they needed this kind of win to kind of give us some expectation on them going into that stretch.
Yeah, the Tech game is in Fort Worth, so that'll be a lot of fun. Their bigs didn't score a ton, but I think Pharrell Payne, 19 minutes, he went 1 of 1 from the field and 0 of 2 from the line, but I thought he was awesome defensively. He had 2 blocks, and they called him for like a foul on another one where he just went up and got it, and I was like, oh my gosh, like he is a pogo stick out there trying to go get blocks, and I'm like, that is huge for this team, because we know they have like tough bigs, it's like all these guys that are gonna beat you up, like Solomon Washington or Henry Coleman or Anderson Garcia, but like to have Pharrell Payne out there, like actually being a guy that can go get blocks, like I think that's really significant and protect the rim. Phelps got to the line 12 times. Like you said, we at this point we know what Zurich Phelps is. He's not going to be the most efficient guy, but I think his ability to get paint touches for this team to where it's not just Wade Taylor going and creating. It's like, all right, this guy can go get to line 12 times. That's huge. That is huge. So, I feel good about A&M. I know after their loss to UCF, we came on here. We're like, we got to see what it looks like with Phelps.
Yeah.
But it looks like the same team as last year, or it looks like a similar team. I would walk that back a little bit because I do think their versatility at guard is better than last year with CJ Wilcher, with Phelps, and then you still have Obaseki and Hefner, and along with Wade Taylor. So I do feel a little bit better. I'm incrementally, raising my standards for A&M.
Right. No, I'm on the same page.
All right. Houston men's basketball. They didn't do a ton on the court, I don't think.
Yeah. I don't think they. What did they play?
Let me double check their schedule before.
They beat Louisiana last week, which I mean, they did nothing much.
Sunbelt teams.
Yeah.
They beat them 91-45. So that's the only game that's happened since their loss to Auburn. But they're loading up with potentially, I think, maybe the best class in Houston history. If
at least going back to probably the Phi Slamma Jam era.
Yeah. They've already signed. So they had already signed Isaiah Harwell, who is a top 10 player in this class, and who I saw as a year out. So when I was watching class of 2024, he was a 2025, and I was watching there, and I was name drop. I was there next to Graham McCaslin, and I was like, is this dude 2024? He's like, no, that's a 2025. And I was like, oh, okay. And it's like, yeah, he checks off all the boxes. And I think I read somewhere that Kelvin Sampson said this, or maybe a scout said this, I don't remember. But like, he's 6'5", and he can play the 1 or the 2, and he can play it defensively exactly how Houston wants to play. And that is very, very, very exciting. So I love the Isaiah Harwell pickup. Yeah, number 10 player in the country. And then they went and got Keaston Flemings from San Antonio. And I'll let you talk about
massive. Yeah, Keaston Flemings is number 1 player out of Texas in this class. Definitely one of the top guards coming out. I think they're going to play him at point guard. I think he was recruited as a point guard. But I think he was a 4-star. I think he finished as a 4-star. There was some 5-star hype with him heading into his junior year. Well, this kid is what I'm most excited about is that this is a kind of player that I don't think I've seen at Houston in terms of like, he is a pure scoring guard with playmaking instincts, right? He's like the prototypical modern point guard. Maybe without like the top end athleticism. I think he's just like really, really I think his athleticism is good enough, right? Is what I'm saying. Yeah. He's lengthy. He has very insane range. He's very composed when he gets inside the lane. I saw him as a junior. Was it junior? No, sorry, as a sophomore. Lead Brennan to the state tournament, and they just lost to Beaumont United, which had Wesley Yates on it. Yeah. And he was going toe-to-toe with a senior heavy team, with a Brennan team this Brennan team this year, maybe one of the best teams in the state his senior year. I don't know the last time we've seen a player like this at Houston in particular. Like usually there's some kind of like grittiness to him. There's some kind of like, there's some kind of like edge to him a little bit. I'm not saying he can't do any of those things, but that's not his thing. That's not the thing that jumps out to you, right, about his game. Yeah. Even when you look at when they got Quentin Grimes, Quentin Grimes still had a little bit of a grime to him because no pun intended. Wow, I know. I literally said that. I'm like, are we serious right now? But as an undersized forward, he still had to have a little bit of dog, lack of a better phrase, dog in him to kind of be a little bit more physical for guys bigger than him. Keaston Fleming's like, you watch him play, and it's almost like a poetry a little bit, because like he doesn't look like he gets touched. He doesn't look like he struggles, and I'm just like, what's that look like for Kelvin Sampson? Like I'm used to Jamal Shedd. I'm used to who's the point guard from their Final Four year? Giroux?
Yeah. Dejan Giroux.
Yeah, I'm used to guys that's like
Moore.
Yeah, I'm used to guys that's like, let me just go in here, get contact, and finish over a 7-footer with a high arcing shot. Keaston Flemings is not like that. He's gonna like weave in and out of the pot, in and out of the lane, and I don't know when it was down to him and them in Tech. I just assumed Tech because I was like, I can see him. I can see it with Grant McCaslin, right? I can see him doing the Tyler Perry things. But man, this class is going to be so special. You mentioned Isaiah Harwell, but both those guys together, that's insane. And we know that they can pull from the portal, so we know they're going to have an experienced team around them. So, like, if I'm a Houston fan, I'd be so excited about next season already.
Yeah. So, because Cryer's gone after this year.
While Roberts is gone, so they'll probably add another big.
Sharp gone?
That's a good question. I think he has one more year. I
don't know. COVID. There's no more COVID years.
Right. I'm pretty sure Emmanuel Sharp has one more year.
Okay.
But regardless, they need a big because obviously, I'm assuming Tugler's going to be gone unless he sticks around. Tugler or Francis, honestly, they can go either way.
Tugler's young though. Wait, why would Tugler be gone?
I'm saying if he goes pro. I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know. I'm just saying if he goes pro.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
In terms of like people who are definitely gone, yeah, Cryer, and Roberts. But JV, like I feel like Francis and Tugler are kind of on that teetering line because like I could see Francis, especially defensively, he can get some calls in the NBA in the first round, in my opinion. Tugler, I think, is gonna have to up his game, up his production a little bit, which I think he could do. But I wouldn't be. I'll say this: I wouldn't be shocked if only one of those guys comes back next year.
Yeah. So that's on all three. That's two of the top 14 players in the class. And then you have they are in contention for Chris Sinak out of New Orleans, who's playing at Link Academy right now, who has a top. I mean, he has like a top 6. I've written about it before because LSU is in the mix here. Narrowing down the finalist is extremely difficult, but I think LSU and Houston, they've been recruiting him the longest. That's for sure. Because for those who don't know, Chris Sinak, he was like a fine 4-star. He was like in the 50s or whatnot. But over the summer, he started like actually really, really, really killing people in these settings of AAU and in the NBPA top 100 camp, and he shot up the rankings. Just shot up. On3 has him as the number 4 player in the country. 24/7 as the number 10 player in the country. And Houston, I would say, has as good of a shot as any to get him right now. So if they land Sinak, that's 3 top 15 players.
Yeah.
That would be absurd.
Yeah, if they start recruiting because they've been active in recruiting. Obviously, they get guys like Tugler, they get guys like Walker, and then they've gotten Grimes before. So like they've been active, but it's always like one. It's usually like one big splash, and then they kind of go portaling. If they're just like loading up with like 2 or 3, and then go portaling around them, like I feel like Samson knows he's not getting younger, and he's like, we got to get this title.
So, there's the rundown of Houston recruiting. I think it's really interesting. I'm glad we were able to talk about it. Real quick to round us out on the show, TCU men lost to Michigan on the road, and I think, we don't want to I think throughout the season we've learned year after year it's hard to win on the road, clearly. But this felt like the same concerns that we had with TCU early on, and I say early on, we're in week 2, but like at the beginning of the season when we watched them play Texas State last week, and even going into the year, it's like, how are they going to be consistent on a team that's brand new? They have older guys, but then they have a bunch of young guys. How are they going to play out the depth? They lose 76 to 64 to TCU. And once again, Trey White, I thought, was the best player on the floor for them, 16 points. Brendan Wetzel had 15 points, but then nobody else with over 7. No, I'm sorry, Micah Robinson 9, and then nobody else with over 7. I was disappointed, I think, from the offense. They shoot 38% from 2 and 26% from 3. And only have 8 assists in the game. And while I think Michigan's a good defensive team, I don't think they're great. So, I was a little disheartened by this.
Same. this is, of course, it's hard for me to gauge this Michigan team too, because of course Dusty May, first year head coach.
Yeah.
For them, I think who else from FAU did he bring? He brought in Goldine.
He only brought Golding, I think.
Was
Donaldson's
that
from
the only
Auburn. John Donaldson's from Auburn. Wolf is from Yale. Obviously Rubens from North Texas.
Yeah.
Burnett is from. Let me get it. Oh no, Burnett was at Michigan already. Yeah, so he's. I think that's the only one
Okay.
he brought.
So virtually a new team for him too. Outside of course Goldine, who he worked with at FAU. But I'll say this for TCU. I agree about the offense. I think on the season, though, I'm concerned about. I don't know if the defense will get there, and I don't know if the defense is good enough to where they have a bad offensive game like this.
Yeah,
that they can pull it out, which is what I've seen so far. And again, against Texas State, it almost lost in the game. Luckily, their offense was good enough to just not have to worry about it. But against Texas State shot almost 50% from the floor, and so I was like, okay, we got an issue here. So that's where my concern kind of comes in. But yeah, like you said, early, it's still. I don't think Ernest Ude played.
no.
So there's still some. Vashawn Alette really hasn't gotten going. He's starting to get going, but he hasn't really gotten going yet. At least in my opinion. So it's just kind of put a pin in that. We'll kind of save that for later a little bit.
Yeah, I'm a little worried, but they're down to 61 in Ken Palm.
Yeah.
I don't know if our expectation entering the year was tournament for TCU, but
I don't think. Yeah, I think it was more of. We knew this was kind of a team for 2 years, a year from now. But still, you kind of, because of where TCU standards have been, you kind of would hope for a team that's at least flirting with the tournament.
Yeah, they should. Let's just say they should be hosting a game in the NIT.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
You should be on the bubble at the very least here.
Yep.
So that's one. But again, this is a game that against Michigan, Michigan's going to be a fine team. They'll be a tournament team. But if you can win that game, or if you can beat, let's say, Xavier at home next week, or no, 2 weeks from now, if you can win that game, those are the resume wins that they're going to need. If they don't start stacking them up, then yeah, they're not going to have a case, because I can't see them going in the Big 12 play and coming out of it 11-9. That would surprise me. So
yeah.
There you go. That's the pod. I think we covered everything.
Yeah.
There were a lot of games. I sent Ish a rundown of ones that we had to choose from, because we could not talk about all of them. Talk about Abilene Christian beating Texas State men 72-60. Couldn't talk about Baylor women beating A&M Corpus Christi. What was the other one? UTSA women beat UTEP.
Yeah.
SFA women with a really good win over Louisiana Tech, 70-65.
Nice.
Jordan Jenkins in that UTSA game had 30 and 12, by the way, in case y'all were wondering. And there was one more. Oh, your girl Charlotte O'Keefe.
I was about to say, UTRGV only lost by what, 12?
We're gonna have a Charlotte O'Keefe tracker here.
Yeah.
She had 18 rebounds. So
they only lost by 12 to a good USF team.
USF. Yeah, they lost to 12 to USF.
We're gonna have to lead off an episode with UTRGV good ?
Men's and women's. Men's and women's have both been competitive at this point. The Southland might be. We wrote off RGV in both of our Southland previews.
That is very true. We may have to do some apologizing.
But even still, even without them, we were Southland, man, that's 4 or 5 teams deep of teams that could win it. RGV might be punching in the top, towards the top half of the conference as well on the men's and women's side. So that just got a lot more interesting. We're just gonna become a Southland podcast at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, Charlotte O'Keefe. I guess I didn't send it to you, but yeah, 11 points. I even circled it. 11 points, 18 rebounds, 1 block for Charlotte O'Keefe.
Let's go. Let me see. What's our schedule? We should give them we'll give them a good portion. Yeah, a good little dedication on one of the upcoming.
Here, you do women's. I'll check the men's, because I do think the men's are respectable.
Even they got ACU on the 4th. ACU, is that right in the Southland then?
ACU's on. Southland starts. Oh, well, they're doing that thing where they've done it before, where they play a couple games early, conference games.
Yeah,
but yeah, Southland play starts December 7th.
God, that's crazy.
We get Lamar. Oh yeah, they get SFA and Lamar to start Southland play. How about
Is it on
that?
the men's side?
No, on the women's side.
On the
Sorry.
women's side, yeah, okay. Jeez, that's crazy.
Let me look up the men's.
So women get, they don't. I mean, they have Arlington Baptist, St. Mary. Yeah, these aren't crazy. Texas, they get Texas State on the 30th, and then ACU. I'll wait for that ACU game. I'm very interested in that.
I think, they're up to 235 on the men's in Ken Palm, which is not bad.
Okay.
Considering they started outside the top 300, they're already up to 235. They play Wisconsin to Lemoyne, and then they start off also with SFA and Lamar.
I'm trying to figure out that'd be their best finish since 2018-19. Because where they were 182 in 18-19.
Yeah. If they end the year top 250, if they end the year top 250,
good.
I mean,
good.
Like
thumbs
you said,
up.
That's going to be able, you're going to have McNeese and SFA at the top probably, but honestly though, SFA, they've played 2 Division I games and they've lost both of them by double digits. Their 2 wins are over our Division II or JUCO schools. So just RGV might win that game against SFA. Let's just put a pin in that right now. Don't sleep. But anyways, there you go. Hope y'all enjoyed the episode. Leave us a like, comment, share, subscribe if you have not already. We appreciate y'all's support. If you're listening on the audio side, leave us a 5-star rating and review. We'll be back on Thursday with more games. Talk about what else. Going to try to set up some interviews with coaches or players in the coming weeks as well. So stay tuned for that. We appreciate the support. We'll talk to y'all later.